was like, and this time, like, you can do it. I won't necessarily give signals. Sometimes I will, but feel free to just share as you see fit, because we have so much depth of vision exploration. You've advanced your program so much since we first met you that this is, to me, one of the most exciting episodes we could possibly have, because I wonder how much of our audience that comes back, wants to see the then and now, right? The progress that happens. And so many of the visionaries that we talk to, there's not a lot to show. In your case, there's all sorts of stuff to show. You've been crushing it in so many different levels. So if you were to think back over the last year, Sue, what things have surprised you the most? What things have advanced the most, in your opinion?
Well, basically the whole year. I mean, it's been nuts. Like, I think overall, if I had to put it in a simple way of saying it, it would be finding out the holes that I had that made businesses that I've got or are building. It made them impossible. They were going to fail because I had so many gaps in that. I came up during hustle culture, work, work, work. You can sleep when you're dead, do it yourself. Definitely do it yourself. This
You can
is
sleep
why
when you're dead. I
you can
love
sleep when
that.
you're dead, or go outside. You can play and relax and be with your family when you're done with everything. When does
Yeah,
that ever happen, right?
no,
But I
not
bought
unless
it.
you intentionally change it, right?
Exactly. And I bought it for 17 years. It's ridiculous. So, over the past year, that has been the biggest thing going, now, wait a second, that was not sustainable. Like, I did it for a life. If it were going to work, I would have figured that out.
And look at this, entrepreneurretreatcenter.com. Like, you have this launch now. You launched this while I was in Panama. I had no idea until like 2 minutes ago. I'm like, whoa, cool. Idyllwild Woods Retreat Center has a representation of itself. But I love that you focus on what matters more than that.
Yeah.
Right? There's that facade and there's the vanity side. And it's not like our clothes aren't important, right?
Yeah.
But you getting responsibly naked, let's say, with
Yeah.
the vulnerability of like, I have a lot to learn as a
Yeah.
business leader. Like, good for you for recognizing and highlighting that. Let me let you go back to it. But I wanted to say, while we were looking at this, that the retreat center website and these updates people are about to see, like, you're constantly showing people how you're moving these mountains. So, let's go back, Sue. Let's go back to what you're talking about.
Yeah, man. So it was like, again, like, if anybody's read the E-Myth, which I reread, thanks to you, thank you. The whole thing with an org chart and that whole concept of it is literally impossible for one person to do everything that needs to get done in order to actually serve. Maybe maybe there's some universal.
Maybe I've never met him.
I don't know. I don't even want to be there because that's just not it.
Oh.
What I've realized over this past year is that, especially Idyllwild Woods Retreat Center, this is such a big project that I'm so grateful it's so huge, because there's no earthly way I could do this on my own. It's not going to happen. And having gotten to this point where, everybody talks about what's your why. Early in the year, I kind of stumbled onto, wait, no, it's really more like, who's your who? Because that will motivate me. A why is about me. I want to leave a legacy for my kids. I want to, that's about me. That's not necessarily going to motivate and keep somebody going. But when you've got a who that you're thinking about, whole other thing, right? So we are living in a barn, like, it started off grid. I got to check, because I record every week. What did we do this week? And so sometime back in around May, June, July, we got power to the barn. Before that, there was nothing.
So hard.
Yeah, it's a little weird. And we chose this, full disclosure. I was, 56 when we moved up here. I'm 57 now. My husband's a year older. This is not normal late 50s type behavior, gotta say,
And I love it. I love being connected to you guys. Plus, everybody who's listening in, when Sue and I talked about how do you eat an elephant, right? Her response, best of all time, she said, you wrap it in bacon.
Yes.
One bite at a time, wrapped in bacon. I was like, that's so you, right? You're so outside of the box, and you bring so much joy and passion, and you're building this amazing retreat center. Again, keep going, Sue.
Yeah, man. Seeing, we've, for a while, we didn't even have a porta potty. We were, like,
in the woods.
The answer to the question is whether a bear does in the woods. Oh, yes. I guess I was a bear, right? But what kept me going is this passion that I have for entrepreneurs. Jackson, I know you see this, or you wouldn't be working with us.
Right.
It's this sense of we take ownership of a problem we didn't cause.
Yeah.
Then we devote ourselves to making a solution for other people. And that's the whole nature of business, and
I
that,
hope you write some materials on that if you haven't already. That was so beautifully said, and I've
yeah.
never thought about it that way before.
It's
Ever.
true though, if you think about that, like we all
Huge.
had a problem, like, probably we had a problem and we solved it. And like, wait, you got this problem too. I can help you
Well,
with
you brought
that.
up a good
Right.
point, though. You also said sometimes it's a problem that's not ours,
Right.
right? And that reminded me of like, yeah, I was in Uruguay when I got told, like when I realized that, my mission is great and my missionary work was important, but I needed to get home, take advantage of my education, learn about business, and help as many places like that as possible. And it wasn't my problem.
Yeah.
But I was the one who was called to solve that.
Yeah.
And so those are my favorite types of entrepreneurs to work with too, is the ones who see outside of themselves. Like, man,
Mhm.
there's things like Junaid with his media
Oh my
school
gosh.
and
Yeah.
helping make sure that he gives a voice to the underrepresented. Like,
Yeah.
those are the leaders who really, like, I don't want to say they're the ones who all people inspire me, but
Yeah.
those are the ones that I know I can help. Those
Yeah.
are the ones that I know I can make a big impact with. And then my kids will look at that legacy and be like, that's cool. Dad
Yeah.
did that. Like, dad
Dad
helped.
was a superhero. Like, I love that,
I don't know about that, but
Well, they will. You don't have to know it. They do.
yeah.
And it's so true like that. It's that sense of if, when you have a calling on your heart.
We hired Sue, by the way. This is what you're looking at is actual proposal. Those who want to pause and look at it. Cynthia's just showing stuff. She's showing all the stuff that has come through. And she came in as a guest on our show. I went on as a guest on her show on
Mhm.
Entrepreneurs Gone Wild as well. Go check that show out for sure. We passed some screen share on that. And then she came in as a client to work with us at First Class Business and do our power launch stuff. And then I got to see how awesome she is at what she does with her other company, Triumph Communications and Copy. And we've got awesome needs for copy and opportunities there. So then I turned around and gave her back all the money that she gave us, in addition to plenty more money, because she's an amazing provider and she knows how to get the right things done and be executive and develop with productivity and profitability. So you never know where opportunities can go if we stop asking dumb questions that put people in a box.
Mm.
Sue, is this going to turn into something where I have to pay from you? What did that person just do? They just cornered somebody into a position of like, I don't even know if I want to engage in this conversation anymore.
Mm.
Right. So I'm super happy to say that we've contracted Triumph Communications to help us on copy. And it has been a massive breath of fresh air to have somebody by my side who understands our heart, our mind, what we're up to, and then I can turn those opportunities over to, and you can engage in my team. You can dive into resources. You know how to do it. You don't fear doing so.
Yeah.
There's so many value opportunities there because you are a phenomenal copywriting leader. You understand how all that stuff works. And in addition to that, we got this really cool retreat center that we're getting ready to launch, and that you're going to be able to you do the soft opening for. When is the soft opening on the retreat center?
I'm thinking it's going to be beginning of May because our first dome,
Yes.
we're getting geodesic dome and it's coming from Canada. It should ship next Wednesday. And so tack on about 8 weeks probably to do the build for inside and that'll be it. So
I am so excited about this. Retreat centers for entrepreneurs. Think, my friends, you hosting a retreat for entrepreneurs, right? A mastermind style event or an event for like Podfest, like hosting Podfest out there. Now, instead of being don't get me wrong, I like the luxury hotels too. Right. I like being in the city, but we're talking about connecting people back to nature and giving them and this right now, the soft opening. How many would you host? Like 10 people or 20
no,
or
so just the one dome. So I mean, it depends on how good friends they are. They
5?
can sleep 4 comfortably. You can fit 10 if you want to like really stack them in. But yeah,
Perfect.
it's just
So
the
again, we're
first one.
talking about a soft opening of, an intimate 2 to
Mhm.
4 people going. I mean, this would be a co-founders retreat, for
Yeah,
instance, right? Then later you're going to have other domes and
yeah.
other environments. I have a friend, past friend, I should say that. We have somebody who went and stayed with you and they decided to go camping.
Hmm.
Right. I think that's awesome. And so if people are into camping too,
Yeah.
what a great opportunity. I know some entrepreneurs that are into building, um, creating like materials for camping and stuff like that.
Oh
And
yeah.
that could be people into Patagonia. It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay,
Oh
you're
my
all
gosh.
ready to go. But
Right.
I love that you're doing the soft launch and making this available for people. And there's no better opportunity for people to come in right now and get a better price
For sure. Yeah,
than
we're
to
doing
come
like
in with a soft launch.
75% off. It's crazy. So,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. It gives you guys experience. It gives them
right.
experience. You
Absolutely.
guys get to envision with them those entrepreneurs and have the opportunity as well to be part of this
Yeah.
long
Oh,
term.
yeah.
I
And
think
so our
there's
first guest, one of our first guests, because we've taken some pre-sales. So one is coming to write his book. It's a guy I've been talking to for 15 years. Like, write your book, man, write your book. He's a single dad. He is the most incredible parent. It's amazing, and he's finally doing it. And he said, "I want to write it there." I'm like, "Yes."
wow, and
So
that's huge because now they're a little bit more off the grid, right? There's less
yeah,
distraction in that
right,
environment.
yeah,
Oh man, that is so cool. Keep
exactly.
going, Sue. I'm
Yeah,
just like
so
eating this vision up
yeah,
and
no,
taking it
I was like,
20,000
so like our
directions.
first guests, we're gonna feed them, we're gonna, do everything. They've got basically 30 acres to themselves. We're at the bottom of the hill, they're up on the right, which
You
is
got a porta potty now or something like that?
that they will have. So these are off grid, but they're not rough. We're making it
Okay.
as luxurious as it can possibly be. Like the most comfortable bed you've ever slept in, probably a
Ooh,
rainwater shower, an off grid toilet. Don't be scared. It's totally fine. We've been using one for a year almost. It's great. Like,
that's
wood fired hot tub, wood fired sauna, this type of thing. And internet will be up there. But, you know, if somebody wants us to hold their stuff, like, hey, take my gadgets because they're distracting me, we can put them in a safe for you, like too. But
wow.
yeah,
That
it's
is
it's going to be so
so
cool. But
by May, you're already gonna have those amenities, or you already do have those amenities in place
so
to where
some of these are in the process right now. We've been experimenting with. We love to do like this is so cool. This is so freaking cool, Jackson. So there's a lot of businesses that have byproducts that they can't. They have to pay to get rid of, right? And we can use them. So we build stuff from this. So one thing would be mill ends from a sawmill. They got to get rid
mm,
of it. What are they going to burn it? Sell it? I don't know. So we go up and we pick them up, and we are able to build incredible things from this without any further energy use. No, it's just like super green, I guess. The other one is pallets, so we're using pallets for a lot of building things. We also had a tree service come through, and they were doing the whole county. We're like, we'll take all your chips. They're like, how many do you want? I'm like, all of them. So we're able to use these things. So some of this is going into like the saunas are going to be built. Pallets are part of their construction process, which is like, oh my gosh.
oh,
So yeah,
that's so sustainable too.
it is. It's like, this
Oh
is
my
amazing.
goodness.
So we're helping them, they're helping us, and it comes out fantastic for the guests. So really cool with that. The big dream is to have about 20 of these geodesic domes. So we'll be able to house what 4 times 20, 80 people or more if they squeeze in a little bit more, and a
Yes.
venue that will seat 100. And then I found, so I go on walks through the property all the time now, and I love it. Get great ideas. This is exactly what I want for the guests. Go for a walk, get a great idea. So I was walking, I'm like, there's this like gully in the woods that where a couple of hills are kind of meeting. I'm like, we could build an amphitheater there. That would be cool, So a little stage and seating for about 100. That's going to go in. A big like yoga deck, I keep calling it, but you could do other things. It could be an event on but like one after another, the ideas just keep coming to me while we're here. And I'm talking with people and finding out like, what do you like? I've got a survey going now for coaches. I'm like, what do you want here? We'll build to suit essentially. Like, oh, you want hammocks? We're going to do hammocks, whatever it is that you want.
Yes.
But it's so cool just like having these conversations with people rather than guessing what people are going to want. Talk to them, find out, and then make it.
It's adaptable, right?
Yeah.
There's so many, and that goes back to the conversations about copy, even,
Yes.
right? The digital market and aspects, and really us having an open mind as entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
right? When we have an open mind, it helps. When we have a provider that we trust to guide us through those types of questions too, same reality exists there.
Yeah.
One of the opportunities that I hope the visionaries listening in do is learn to operate based on more security, like remove fear from the equation. And part of that is working with people who you can trust,
Mm.
right? Where it's like, I can be vulnerable and say, you know what? I haven't done a retreat like this before. how can you help?
Yeah.
And if I feel like I've been taken advantage of my entire life in relation to events and coordinators, and the event coordinator is going to rob me blind or etc., like I'm probably not going to be able to maximize that experience.
Mm.
And because I'm going to be scared, like, I don't know if I want to pay for that. I don't know if I really want this part of the equation. It's so important to find people that we can trust and we can build with without the worry and fear, because then you can create experiences that are like once in a lifetime and that
Mm.
are completely unique. So I love that you do so much to show me that it's just so easy to trust you. And I can't wait to host our conferences there. I want to be involved sooner than later. And as you know, like, we're traveling a lot right now.
Yeah, you
So
are.
I'm like, how do I get to Tennessee? Like how do I make sure that that becomes a priority? And you are like the only reason I want to go to Tennessee, by the way. Nothing
Tennessee's
against
pretty
Tennessee.
awesome, right?
I know, nothing against it, but I went to Panama 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
right? We built a studio with Junaid for Home Studio Mastery in Atlanta last week.
Yeah.
We've got San Diego coming up at the end of this month with Social Media Marketing World. We've got VidCon
Mm.
over in Anaheim in June. In between there, I'm going to Colombia and probably Peru,
Oh, wow.
and to meet up with a team in Colombia. And then in September, I've got Colombia again for the event with the Voice Academy. And in November, we're planning on going to Africa for the Water Project.
Oh,
And then I just planned last night a trip to the Philippines. I had to get all the details in place, but to get to the Philippines, you have to go several places first.
yes,
So
you do.
I would hit Tokyo in the process, Manila. I can't remember the city that most of my team lives in down there. And then Cebu was another city in the Philippines. And it's going to be like a 21-day trip in order to make sure that we maximize each of those. So Tennessee's still in there. Right. And so here's Panama. And, you're part of the copywriting process of like,
Yeah.
how do we distribute the information about what we did there and what we're doing worldwide? Junaid and I want to get over to Pakistan as well. And then Harry and I need to get over to India,
Mm.
and help out with the India launch. So but the retreat center, it's very possible that we sneak something in with you guys, either in June or July.
I think that'd
Right.
be amazing.
We've got to find a way to pull it together, because there's just too much opportunity not to make that happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I want to be one of the first,
You need
at
to
the
be.
retreat center.
You need to be.
I want to be. So I've got to find a way to get there and make this happen, because it is such an awesome retreat center. So we're going to cut to a little break, Sue. We're going
Mhm.
to, those of you listening in, we've talked about Idyllwild Woods Retreat Center. And we've talked about Triumph Communications and what Sue does for copy. But what you're getting is just like a firestorm and a hydrant of like, whoa, look at this visionary leader and all she's doing, and how it's interlaced with what we're doing at Vision Pros Live, First Class Business, the BeYourBestShow.com, Junaid's program, Home Studio Mastery, and what's going on there. Like, there's so much overlap. And this is what the compound effect does for your lives when you're working with people who add to and don't take away from. And Sue has been one of the greatest additions to both our team and our client base. And I can't say enough praise about her. So we're going to come back and do just that after the intro. We'll see you guys on the other side. All right. Welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Calame. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm so happy to be back. I haven't done this in a while. My team's been carrying the torch and moving forward all sorts of episodes. And today's episode is ultra special and ultra convoluted because we're diving deep with a visionary who's been on the show before. So make sure to check out some of the pathway that led to this. But Sue Anderson is an absolute angel. She's an absolute superhero. She's an absolute rock star. She does so many great things that we even hired her to do copy for our team and our projects. And what's gone from what was me guesting on Entrepreneurs Gone Wild, go check her show out as well. She's also a super host, and she's like an out-of-the-box thinker that comes out with the most amazing, authentic stories and experiences. big into nature, of course, Entrepreneurs Gone Wild, and she came up with Vision Pros. I cannot say enough about this leader and all that she does and has done for what we're doing. And all of you get the opportunity to go check out this retreat center in Tennessee as well. And we'll be hosting retreats there in the future. That is one of our big visions, is to be able to host conferences over at her land in space with these really cool domes. We're going to be outside. Again, we'll talk about that more in a little bit, but continue to follow and see what she's doing, what she's building, because odds are what she's building is quite grand in nature compared to what some of you guys are building. And what that means is when you can follow somebody's footsteps and model what they're up to, if it's harder what they're doing, odds are your path is going to be that much easier because they've paved a very big road in front of you to follow. So I highly recommend continuing to see what Sue is up to. I'm going to bring it back on in just a minute, but I also want to talk about and highlight some of the sponsored opportunities, some of the other resources that can help you with your growth. One of it is Opportunities for Work. Opportunities is our homegrown program. Oportunidades de Trabajo para Latinos is the one we're specifically going to look at because my Latino side of this operation has taken off and is expanding quite rapidly. And the Latino team is just absolutely crushing it on this opportunity. What it is if you're looking for virtual assistants, go talk to my team. Go ask them. About why we do what we do, how we do it. We are huge on training people and making sure that the training programs are profound. They have 90 days of training that they go through before we ever bring them into anything, so that we know that they know how to be authentic, they know how to work hard, they know how to work with love and patience and persistence, consistency and reliability, and that we've got great relationships in place before we worry about all the how's it done and what do you guys actually do. Those are later conversations. As Sue pointed out earlier, the who matters most, followed by, in my opinion, the why. Are we working towards the same purpose? And then we move into building together from there if it makes sense. And so Opportunities for Latinos is a phenomenal opportunity there to also go and be on the show with them, where we speak Spanish and where we inspire the world of Latinos to take action and follow some of the Latino leaders that we follow, that we find out there and put on stage. Cynthia, who does post-production for this show and a lot of and works in our design department as well, she's the host of Opportunities for Latinos, as is Luisa, who started the host on this show 6 weeks after learning what podcasting was, what LinkedIn is. It's amazing what we can do when we train people really, really well. Then there's Learn and Grow Rich with Zach Ullman. Learn and Grow Rich has become our chief financial officer. And why do we bring him on as chief financial officer? Because we also saw that he's capable of scaling. You can go directly to Zach and work with him. You can also work with Zach through First Class Business. I'm not worried about it. I don't have a scarcity mindset. I've got an abundant mindset. That's why I want people to connect, because the more we allow people to connect, the more we get out of the way of trying to control things and we just provide freedom of choice to people, the better it is for everybody to be able to create a win-win-win experience. Zach's programs started on like the exact opposite side of the shore as mine. And so if you think about a bridge, Zach and I realized we've got like a 5-foot gap between our bridges. And we're in the process of integrating those right now. That way, everything that he's built on his side, which like eerily looks identical to what we do, but with all different positions and all different infrastructure. And then he looks same thing on my side and sees that. Well, we pull those together, we create an even stronger bridge for everybody. And so Zach is a brother from another mother who's been doing an awesome job on helping us with the financial department and the needs that our companies and clients face for scale. I highly recommend reaching out to him, talking to him, and seeing what he's up to in the world. Then there's the Water Project. The Water Project is not something we're related to, but I really hope that this is the year. The plan is in November to actually go see one of these projects. We've been contributing in small ways to this for a very long time. And when it came across my radar, I learned that there's millions of people who don't have access to clean drinking water. Those of us who get the chance to listen to podcasts or rock the mic for podcasts, I don't know of too many causes out there that have a more immediate impact on people and a more generational impact. Once these communities have access to a borehole well or a sand dam, it gives them the ability to stay focused on their education, to stay focused on building their own economy, to be able to make sure their kids aren't walking 3 to 5 miles to try to find access to any source of water, so that the family or that the school can continue to operate and function. It honestly, it can break your heart to learn about these stories. My hope is that you will see the opportunity to break your heart like a seed, right? So that your seed breaks open and it can grow and have that much more capacity to do more. You click on these links that Cynthia's showing, you're going to see which communities you can help. And when you contribute to it, they send you the evidence of having fulfilled these projects. You get to help between 300 and 600 people, their life for the next 10 generations or beyond, however long that well is sustainable for. So I highly recommend checking it out. If there's another cause that you'd rather see us support, please put the comment in the links. It gives me the chance to take a look and learn at what's out there, and and see if we can help and support with that too. We've got 8 billion people to help in this world, and that's really what the show is all about: is how do we pull together, share our visions, and help the people who need it most. Random shout out to Fiona of Fiji Book Drive as yet another example of that. That's a cause that came on the show that I like to talk about because, and they sent me this really beautiful photo of the kids who get books thanks to her program. It's leaders like that, leaders like you, that as you step up and serve your local community or decide to serve something globally, the size isn't that important to me. What matters to me is, are we serving and helping people as much as possible? And thank you for joining us in the show to do that. Back to serving each one of you. Sue Anderson, welcome back to Vision Pros Live.
Thanks, Jackson. This is so cool. Everything about what First Class Business is up to is just inspiring. Like you got to be on more stages, because this is like, oh my gosh, it's just incredible.
I love that you say it. Thank you for the ego boost, right? But thank you for the authentic reality of that too. I know for myself, Sue, that it's so important that our company is in a scalable position to honor the people that we get in front of on those stages. I take that very, very, it's very sacred to me. And so if I'm going to be on the stage in front of 10,000 people who I'm going to inject hope into, then I want to know that we've got a path where those 10,000 people can come and receive the type of value where their newfound hope, their inspiration, they can fulfill on it and not say, oh yeah, there's another guy who promised the world, and didn't fulfill. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody who goes on stages prematurely, yet I am pointing out that for myself, it is going to be leaders like you by my side who empower me to have that certainty that it is time, right? That it's time for us to go and do that at the next level. And as you know, we've got certain systems coming out over the coming weeks where we are going to be going from 300 touch points per day to over 2,000 touch points per day with people. And I hope other entrepreneurs and visionaries, and if you got a cause out there, same thing. If you work in the nonprofit sector, I hope that you guys see the opportunity that if you really want to scale to that next level, one of the greater challenges that is often left unaddressed is, okay, what happens when we go from 0 to 80 miles per hour within 5 seconds if we don't know how to turn this ship, right? Or if we don't have an e-brake that can pause, because there's always walls and there's always obstacles. And a lot of the best visions out there, they end up blowing up before people even hear about it, because they don't think through the byproduct of scale and the repercussions that can exist with it. And so I'd love for us, let's take a little bit of time to look at that, because you and I both share that same style of philosophy. We are very prudent with how we move forward the processes, yet that doesn't mean we don't act with diligence. That doesn't mean we don't promote what we're up to. How do you go about balancing that? And I've got you here. You're larger than life to me. You're like the best thing to hit our company in a long time. So, and there's some great things that are constantly hitting our company. So, how do we balance that?
I think, let me back it up a little bit. There are plenty of guys and women out there who can get on a stage and who can give a rousing, like totally genuine, very inspiring message. And that is fantastic. But people can come away and they're like, hopefully it's going to stick with them. Hopefully they don't come out to the parking lot, find they got a flat tire and then all of it's gone, right? But I love that you have had this forward thinking, looking at the long term, what is actually the way that I can lead people into being able to fulfill their purpose here. And so you didn't just settle with having a message. You've built this whole mechanism. You've trained an entire team. You've gathered from around the entire planet to literally
Yeah.
to build this
It's
team.
crazy
And
to think about.
it is. And equipped them with leadership training, not just like, okay, here's how you do this task, that part too, but not just
Later.
that. You've got the leadership. I've seen how the team interacts and they're cheering each other on. They're not like vying for I'm better, I'm better. Oh, like none of this. They're calling each other out like, hey, I haven't heard from you. Are you, is this is leadership. And that's what transforms everything on it. And I think that makes it like the weight of that, if any entrepreneur who's, like driving a destiny type of, oh my goodness, this is huge. This is so much bigger than just one person. Leadership becomes infinitely more important at that point,
Mm.
I think. And it's that sense of leadership that helps us to look 5, 6, 7 steps down the road. So again, you weren't content, hey, I'm just going to get up and inspire some people from stage. No, I've got a whole thing that I got to build out, which is super cool. Like, and it's evolving, and you're not taking decades and decades to do it, which would be a shame because the world needs it now. I think that's part of it, is having that sense of leading ourselves, leading the people that we're working with, having that reciprocal leadership. So they're leading us, we're leading them. We're still at the helm here, but I think all of those things come together to make it a doable thing, to build something that will truly change lives long term. Like from you've got the water project, you've done incredible things for, the clients and team have done things for the team. Like it's inspiring and awesome and massive. And I think that it takes maybe a special kind of brain to be able to hold the massive nature of this endeavor. Um,
That's what Dr. Todd Snyder said. I mean,
yeah,
I got to give him a shout out. One, I don't have a diploma, right? So there's nothing to like bolster that with. But he said, Jackson, after working with me for 2 months to build this stuff, he said, Jackson, I've administered IQ tests to thousands of people. I've never met anybody even close to as intelligent as you. And I'm like, I'm just
that's
Jackson.
a burden. I mean, it's a good thing. It's flattering, but it's also like, whoa, that's a huge.
Well, and he said his point with it. He said, Jackson, you've got to stop downplaying your genius.
Yeah.
People need to know it. They need to understand it. And there's that quote that like, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. And I'm like, come on, like I'm cursed with this then, and no. Like there's a difference in knowing confidently that you have genius and that everybody else is still just as valuable and important as you are. And there's still perspective, and so I always say my 13-year-old, she's got 13 years of perspective that I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the ability to appreciate and make space for people, but to also know that, like it is important to realize not everybody can do something like this.
Yeah.
Not everybody's meant to do something like this. Not everybody
No.
should do something like this, and so those are elements that it's we're still all here to learn from each other, figure out what's going to be of best value to the people that we're serving. And you do all these beautiful things with these animals too, and the nature stuff, and it's cute. And the retreat center that's there, and we do want people to capture the essence of like catch the vision of how valuable this is for everybody that's out there. And like you said, it's the leaders who support this.
Yeah,
they're going to make that like shine that light on this so people can see it and say like, whoa, okay, this is something that could help me.
yeah.
And you're doing a phenomenal job of supporting us on that, by the way.
Thank you. I think that, talking about leaders, I think one thing that leaders are really lacking these days, and you see it when you're talking with, we have a lot of conversations, like a couple times a week. I know you meet with some clients like every day, like it's like that. It's a lot of conversation. Hustle culture says, that's a waste of time, which is ridiculous. Entrepreneurs have that because they've got I got to work. The thing that I think we're craving so much and that will move the needle for so many is to have unhurried time together in conversation. We don't have that usually. We're like, oh, I got a hard stop at this time. Oh, I got to go. I'll catch the replay. But if we can have face-to-face time, I think that's going to be just world changing. And if you can gather people, like the type of people I'm planning to gather here, oh my goodness. Like, can you imagine?
Any and every mistake that we make it first class business is when we are rushing and having hurried conversations.
Yeah.
That is the only time we face drama and mistakes.
Yeah.
We are very intentional about never being the victim of not having enough time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
All I have is time. That's
Yeah.
like the one resource that I am given, and you can't get it back.
Yeah.
Right. So how we choose to use that time and then intentionally say, you know what, I'm not going to rush this. I'm going to accept that the result's going to be different than I expect or that I want, but I'm going to slow down and I'm going to have the right conversation. I'm going to look at things. I'm going to stop looking at the things, and I'm going to look more at the relationship that's right here in front of me and how we can build on that. And so we were talking about that with the show. We've got the hour show, and then I've got a 30-minute break after. One thing I didn't ask Sue is, do you have a hard stop at the
No,
top
I
of the hour?
don't. I'm good.
Oh, perfect. And so what Sue and I were talking about, I said, we want to just give and give and give and give and give and give, and all the way up until the next appointment. But we would do ourselves a disservice if we did not stop, pause the show, or stop the show and then debrief together and see what do we learn? What can we do to maximize what we've given to people? Having that intentionality to use our time the best way possible. That is something that it's like books like this that teach me how to do that. It's not natural to know how to master our time and to use it accordingly. It's also not natural to hustle through life, at incredible speeds, but it's also not natural to slow down and not, you know what I mean? Like meditate and think through what you're going to do. Those are all learned behaviors.
Yeah.
And as we focus on it, we win better.
First class business has been, I've joked and I've written a little bit about it's almost like standing naked at the doctor, right? It feels very, very vulnerable.
I'd rather do that sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, all right, you're going through the power lunch process, and it's like, oh, what's this look like in your business? What's your org chart? What's this? It's like, oh no, I'm naked. But it takes, having conversation, like, in a level of trust, I think, that comes from somebody actually slowing down. Like if it were a literal doctor's office and you're standing there naked and he does a drive-by, oh, yep, give him this. You're not going to trust what they said, like, hopefully, but having somebody who's taking the time to really, they care enough to ask these very uncomfortable questions sometimes, like, oh, I have never done this. Okay. There's so many gaps that we have as entrepreneurs that whoever we learned how to entrepreneur from, and probably a mishmash of all kinds of stuff that we've bought and attended and all this, there's gaps and they're big, and it's bad enough it's going to hit us. It's going to hit everybody we're trying to serve and everybody on our team. Like, oh no. And having those unhurried conversations where, the doctor is looking and they see and they're hearing you. That's where you want to get help. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. They see what it is. They're not coming in here willy-nilly with a scalpel. This is somebody who's paying attention. That's huge. And I've appreciated
how do we encourage more visionaries to make room and space for that experience? Because as you know, we've lost our clients along the way. We've lost team members along the way. It's hard. It's not easy for people to address the pains that they face or the realities. And let's look at it from that hospital standpoint. It's like if somebody has their arm severed off, right? Gruesome, I know, painful. Well, in order to help that person, you unfortunately have to cause a bit of pain in the process, of making sure that you stop the bleeding, and that's, nobody wants that. That's why you put people to sleep before you operate on them. Because they're otherwise they're going to fight. And so with entrepreneur work, you have to go through the same types of painful processes of removal and of vulnerabilities, but people have to be conscious of what they're going through. So what are some things that you think myself and other leaders who have to, who have an opportunity to inspire people to level up, but they have to do things that are way outside their comfort zone? What can we learn from this experience?
There are two things that come to mind. One is, let's say you're the surgeon, you're specialized in reattaching severed arms. Pretty cool. You've got to wait for somebody to come to you. people are not going to come to you till their arm is hanging off by a thread, and you can't treat them if they don't come in, right? So I think that's part of the content that we create. Is it's got to speak to that person so that they can see. These are very private, secret type of fears that people have. The fear of success, fear of failure, the way that that plays out, it's like, what is keeping them up at night? Literally, they're eating Tums, trying to solve this thing, but they don't want to tell anybody about it. In a way, if you create content that speaks to them and it echoes what's already going on in their head, that kind of like gives them a hope that maybe, oh, wait a second, they might understand me. So that's a big part, is you've got to find a way that they're going to come to you, because you can't go to all of them, and you certainly can't attach the arm in their garage. The other part kind of hinges on that too, and I think it's being able to tell stories really well. That's a huge asset, a skill set to have. That, if I can tell somebody's story, or if you're telling somebody's story, you've had tremendous experiences working with clients, with team, all of this, you're an excellent storyteller. And I think as people tell stories, that's what kind of engages somebody. It's like the hack to get into the brain. We love, if you say, hey, we're going to tell a story. All right, everybody's like, from kindergarten on, we were trained, like, if somebody's telling a story, this is going to be good. You're going to sit, But I think that's part of it, that can finally communicate points that could be tough to swallow otherwise.
The amount of value that you just provided to me in that one, like, I'm going to be meditating on this for some time. You reminded me of the movie The Physician. And it's not a well-known movie, but The Physician is about this guy who performed the first appendicitis ever. Wow. And it's a hilarious movie of medieval times, right? And witch doctor stuff, and what these quacks were doing to like cure people and not really. And a lot of the religions at that time didn't believe in cutting open the body and exploring the body and understanding what it was. And so we live in a time where, as you said, like those with severed arms, like they need to come to you, right? And so oftentimes the entrepreneur says, well, let's just not help that market. Like it's far easier to help people with less dramatic problems, or who are farther along and don't have these challenges. But to your point, that's like, I want to create the content where those people know they're safe. And back then with the appendicitis, they didn't have the ability to put people to sleep. Right. So we live in a very modern world where a lot of the buildup and processes to create some of the miraculous victories and quick remedies, we think that's always existed. I do. We probably need to figure out what's the anesthesia for entrepreneurs, so that they stop abandoning the process, so they don't get in a situation of panic where they run from the pain and the reality of the change that needs to exist. So I'm going to be studying this a lot over the coming months. And it is these types of mastermind sessions that don't typically happen publicly. Right. And that people may not catch the full value of. Yeah. But it is these conversations that lead to the gold, the diamonds, the realities of what's possible long term. And I guess I'll ask you too, in terms of vision, what else where do you plan on going with your vision? And what else is on the horizon that's going to help you fulfill the visions that you're underway in building?
So one of those hinges on the last thing that you said. So add one more thing to your meditation here.
Okay.
Imagine you're in a situation, in a container, as the coaches say, where there's not a clock necessarily running. And let's say you're there with 10 other entrepreneurs, and somebody like you who's able to help do this surgery, right? You know what the anesthetic becomes is community. Having other people there to witness what you're going through and to say, oh my gosh, yeah, that's me too. And to have that unhurried treatment time. Yes, I mean, eventually you all got to go home, but a lot can happen when there's no cell phones dinging, there's no got to go get food, got to do, when you just have that unhurried time together. I think that's where that comes in. So bringing that forward, Idyllwild Woods, I kind of feel like this might just be the first of several
Huge.
places like this. I can envision, and this
Yeah.
sounds like crazy talk because we haven't even built the first one yet, but here's what I'm envisioning is having a whole string, like a necklace going across the country. Like, oh, you want to go to Utah? Oh, you want to go to Missouri? Oh, you want, like being able to help other entrepreneurs who have a similar vision. Like, I don't know that I want to open that many myself, but I would love
Sure.
to consult and help them. Because I've talked with, I used to have a podcast called Glampalooza. And I started that because I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know anything about hosting. I'm going to learn, right? As I was talking to these people, a lot of people were like, you're building an entrepreneur retreat center? I want to do that.
Mm.
And other people that they've encountered me. One lady reached out on Facebook, hey, I'm doing the same thing, but it's going to be in Ohio. And I'm like, that's amazing. Or Indiana. I'm like, that is amazing.
Yeah.
It's another one of those projects where it's like, oh, we can help each other through this because the mission on it is so big. It's like competitors. That's not even a thing. Like this is
Yes.
each place will have its host, they're uniquely suited to serve the people who are going to come there. And so that's what I see coming.
I
This
love
could
it.
be just ginormous.
It is, and it's. I'll shift the gears. It's not even could be. It just is.
Yeah.
Right. That is what it is, and so people in markets that don't. There's a lot of markets who don't understand that, but you don't have to look too far. Right. The University of Stanford and the University of Harvard, they're not competitors.
Mm.
They have their own thresholds of capacity. They beat each other up on the football field and on the basketball field and all that, but that's all part of driving the holistic growth. And that's a bigger part of the community and the sense of belonging too. And so there's that same reality exists not just in the sports world, but in our world of business. And while there's plenty of people who don't get it, I'm sure there's tons of universities who don't get it either and try to do their own thing and try to make it about themselves. But the ones who are really crushing it, right? The ones who are really getting after it, they don't have this fear of competition. That's not a driving force. They have this openness about collaboration and what's possible. And so I think that's the inevitable reality of what you're creating, Sue, is
Yeah.
you're creating a sense of abundance that's going to continue to drive a thriving cultivation of relationships, opportunities that exist in different cities, different states, different countries as well. We only talked about the necklace across
Oh, yeah.
America, but being involved in the planetary reality of like what we're doing with first class business means that we're going to have these opportunities in Colombia, Peru, Pakistan, India, Philippines, and whatever countries we touch
Amazing.
next. So it's truly global.
Oh, I get
Elon
chills.
Musk might be making this planetary. We'll see.
I mean, why
Um,
stop there, Like,
Mars on the space shuttles. Well, who knows what else? So, he can worry and plan about that. I let people do the research and development, right? And pave the harder paths forward. But and you've done that with the retreat center. I love what you're building. I know how needed this is in the world, and so I'm excited to be part of the process of bringing it to fruition. It all started with us meeting on a couple of podcasts.
yeah.
We met theoretically. Big shout out to Stacy.
Oh, I love Stacy.
Right, do the
Stacy
thing.
Lauren.
Oh man, so yeah, Stacy Lauren hosted something with Alex Sanfilippo. We got to give
Yep.
him a huge shout
Oh,
out as
yeah.
well, because I wouldn't have gone had Alex not been part of that. Then I got to see how Stacy's leading running community. It was right when she was doing her TED talk,
Mhm.
and that was really neat to see. And she's great at building online communities. And you were in there talking about the retreat center a little bit,
Yep.
just commenting in that one little meeting. And I happened to make some comments, just providing a little bit of support or materials of what I had seen in the market. And next thing you know, we're both on a podcast together. And here we are. What has it been? 6 months?
Probably.
About that. It feels in a good way. It feels like 6 years of depth. And yet it's only been 6 months and we've accomplished so much on both sides. Can you imagine where we're going to be 6 years from
Oh,
now?
I know. It's
Okay,
crazy.
if we were to look at it, let's
Crazy.
project that. Let's do that
Yeah.
publicly. Where are we going to be six years from now, Sue?
Oh, my. That's amazing. Thinking about this. Well, I think we're going to be like, we're going to have a list like as long as our arms of things, places that we've been able to serve and help and people, groups of people that have been transformed. That's for sure. Like your whole screen is going to be blacked out with logos of all this stuff. Like,
Yes, I think you're
you
right.
know, that's going
The
to be
logos
incredible.
of all the clients, all the brands,
Yeah.
the leaders who are training and incubating in first class business, as you talked about, right? They're going to the Leadership Academy. They're all learning truths and values that makes them self-sustainable.
Mm.
That's beneficial for our company, but it's also between that and the Passion Pro project, we're learning who wants to launch their own brands. So in 6 years, I could literally see hundreds of our team members already having power launched all of their own brands, not just supporting the clients that come to the process, but literally having hundreds of team members who started as unqualified virtual assistants, meaning they've never done virtual assistant work. They've never had LinkedIn before. They didn't know about Canva and Upwork and podcasting. And I can see how within the 6 years, we could literally have hundreds of those individuals running their own profitable companies
Mhm.
and using the retreat centers, right, that you have been involved with creating and setting up and going across that necklace string of retreat centers to visit them, to be part of like, oh, this is
I
huge.
know, right? And then too, you're bringing in the clients, right? You've got the team and they're starting to build their own things. And you got the clients and some of them have things that would help the team, right? It's just that
Yes, huge.
the collaboration possibilities are just unfathomably huge.
They are.
It's so cool. And
Speaking
then
of
in their
Travis
areas,
Chambers,
go
right?
ahead.
And the person you met in Ohio, and then
Yeah.
there's Travis Chambers with the Outpost in Utah, and there's so many others that we talked about this, creating a kind of like a Hilton Rewards type network
Hmm.
of these places, so that it's like second nature. It's like, okay, we did the one in Tennessee, now we got to go do the one over in Ohio, and then we got to go over to the one at the Outpost, and like it becomes like Disneyland for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
That's what I
I love
see
it.
happening. It's like
I
every
love
time
it.
you go, you're engaging in these workshops too. And so now you've got revenue growing. Can you imagine that? You go from one conference to the next, and every time you get there, your revenue has grown because of the experience. And it's like, yeah, I'm not diva. I'm a big fan, by the way, of having a home base.
Hmm.
A big fan of it nowadays. I did the nomad thing earlier in life, and I realized that my kids would have benefited from having the same type of like infrastructure
Hmm.
and community stability that I had had. But that doesn't mean I want to shoot down the nomad lifestyle and say don't do it. As much as, okay, if I'm going to go the nomad route, or if I'm going to encourage my kids to go that route, what are the other variables, right? What are the other missing elements that would be really important for them to be able to benefit from the same type of community stability
Hmm.
that I had during my generation, while also having the flexibility and remote access to world opportunities
Hmm.
that doesn't leave them in a situation of isolation, or in a situation where, like my second wife, my the mother of my youngest child, COVID crushed us.
Hmm.
We literally moved back from Mexico like with no intention to stay in the US during an international like crisis where she got trapped in a
Hmm.
foreign country.
Oh
So we
gosh.
couldn't have predicted that.
Hmm.
But now that I've seen uh, how many, like, what risks exist with the nomad lifestyle, it's like, okay, we don't want to shut that down. I don't want to have the PTSD to the level where it's like I'm not going to consider that as an option. But I think we're on to something within 6 years, Sue, where
Hmm.
it's like we're going to be able to create a new sense of stability and infrastructure for that empowers the nomad life, while also maintaining that sense of community and belonging that anybody in the 90s grew up with.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm Gen X. We spend our days outside, drink from a hose. You come in when the lights come on. You're outside, like.
That's where I was. My siblings are all Gen X,
All right.
right?
So you
So
were
I grew up
raised
on
by
the
Gen
tail
X.
end. Yes,
Yes,
100%
yes.
being there with
And
them.
and there's that, I think there's such value to having, I'm familiar with this tree. I'm familiar with, oh, I
Yeah.
see how the water moves here. Like that type of
Mhm.
thing is very hard to do that. I think if you're in hotels for conference, like where was I? have no idea. You can picture it, it's the same hotel everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But I think when we're able to really anchor again, slowing down, having those conversations, I think that that helps to build that sense of home. Um, when people are able to go back multiple times, like, oh, I always go to Utah for this one. Oh, I always hit, I go to this thing in Tennessee. I go to this. It starts to kind of build more of like a branch that has roots to it. Like a tree basically is, the people who come, the people that you spend time with repetitively there, these relationships get deeper and deeper. And then because of the caliber of people, they're welcoming other people in. So it just grows like that. I feel like we can create a community that is
Yeah.
doing incredible things in the world, teaching like some of the things, that happen with the team at First Class Business, the way that you've been able to invest in them and their leadership and, changing lives. What would happen if every entrepreneur who went to any of these things learned how to do that? What would happen
Yeah.
in their community? Like,
Oh,
oh my
oh, they'd
gosh,
scale.
you know?
They'd scale.
Yeah.
They'd scale and they'd scale with happiness. Right.
Yeah.
That's what it gets. I wake up, I see the messages from the team members, and I'm like overwhelmed. They're just joy.
Yeah.
Like this is so neat. Like these people, their lives are changing. They're happy to come to work. It's like meeting my best friends they become my best friends in the process. Like, it is
Yeah.
so wonderful. And that gives us energy to be able to produce great results. So I'm glad you talk about that. One of my absolute favorite books growing up, I read it many, 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 many times, was The Giving Tree,
Oh yeah.
right, by Shel Silverstein. And you remind me of that, and it's like, okay, what I say is almost, oh, what's the word for that? A heretic. It's almost sacrilegious in nature, because I'm like, okay, I don't want to devalue the importance of that physical tree that exists there, right? I had that environment growing up, and is there an end that exists there with online tokens,
Mm.
right? Where if somebody is doing the nomad side, can they still have the tokens that allow them to feel connected to their online environment while still having a full holistic appreciation for the offline world too? Right.
Mhm.
Not like that movie. The movie Surrogates is amazing, by the way,
Mhm.
with Bruce Willis. It's
Mm.
it's awkward, but it's like so spot on in a lot of Wall-E style ways, that is quite impressive. Same thing with Fifth Element, but
Mm.
Surrogates even more so. And that challenge of like getting lost in the technology,
Mhm.
but I think, as much as I would say you can't really get lost in the world, Ralph Waldo Emerson, David Henry Thoreau style, I don't think they got lost. They just had a discovery route. But what I'm getting at, this interface right here, for instance, this is part of my tree
Yes.
virtually, right?
Yes.
That, like, this is, I will have a hard time forgetting the brand presence of Vision Pros Live and the sponsors and the Water Project and First Class Business, and then being with leaders like you. And it's one of those tokens that has allowed my Pakistan team, my Philippines team, my Colombian team, my Peruvian team, like all of us and all of the Americans that I work with as well, to have kind of like almost like a physical token
Mhm.
to pull us together as we amplify the value of those and make the time where we're not rushing, as you talked about, right? It solidifies a different type of, and as a big shout out to Cynthia, who's
Mhm.
behind the scenes producing for us. Her and I have been friends for 8 years. We've been working together very closely for about 3 years. We met in Panama 2 weeks ago. It was our first time meeting in person. And
I love
she
that.
is my best friend.
Aw.
She's been my best friend for years. And to be able to meet in person and hug for the first time, to be able to work together and not have Zoom interrupt us,
Mhm.
or some internet, I should pick on Zoom, but the internet, fall apart, or electricity or something. Um, I think a lot of people are still very, very unfamiliar with just how powerful online relationships can be and how authentic and real they can be.
Yeah.
And we're on the cusp of unlocking new levels of relationship realities
Mhm.
that over the next 6 years are going to create more stability for the nomads that are out there, that
Mhm.
if they face the challenges that my ex-wife and I faced, um, there there can be a lack of roots
Mhm.
that that the kids and that the couple themselves are subject to, that makes it very hard to keep the family together, that makes it very hard to feel like you have any sense of community at all. And that's also, to me, one of those very big obscure vision realities that we're going to be making resources and infrastructure for over the coming 5 to 6 years.
Yeah. Oh man, it comes down to those conversations again.
Yeah.
You and Cynthia talk how many times a day, and it's
Oh
like
my
over
God.
years and years and years. And if somebody told you before you start, okay, now you're going to talk to this woman, you're never going to see her for 6 years. You're going to be talking to her 3 times a day. She's going to know stuff. You're going to know stuff. Like you'd be like, what? It sounds overwhelming.
It's and like absurd. It's
Yeah.
absurd. Or to
It
think that I
is.
was going to have a company with multiple companies, like, or that I was going to be working with people all throughout the world, like that.
Yeah.
No, like that never was the plan,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't the plan, and that's like, again. But had I been addicted to the destination, right? Had I been addicted to my original destination plan versus open to appreciating the journey and
Mhm.
realizing that I don't know the final destination, I just show up and live to my best in the moment. That took me some time to learn to figure out too. But it's amazing how many new doors and new levels and new fun, new beauty that it opens when we allow ourselves to just kind of be
Yeah.
and receive what's there. And it is leaders like yourself that allow me to explore and play with that in a way that you help me cultivate it in ways that are both respectful and safe.
Mhm.
And I don't take that for granted at all. It's like what I appreciate most about life is having friendships and relationships like you by my side. So
Yeah. It makes us more courageous. I mean, doing anything different is kind of scary. Like can be really scary. But when you've got people who really see
yeah,
and love you enough to talk you through and tell you the truth and hang with you, that's huge. That's
huge.
what encourage us, fills us with courage to be able to go do the thing.
Absolutely. Vision Pros, you heard it from Sue Anderson, of Idyllwild Woods Retreat Center. You now know the caliber of leader that I feel that she is. I hope that you have the opportunity to connect with her, not just about the retreat center, but also about your copy through Triumph Communications, and also in relation to what is it that you're trying to accomplish. She's a fantastic wise guide, somebody who, not wise guy, wise
Well, you
guide
could be.
who's also willing to have fun with you. We'll put all the information on the typical page that we put together for these as well. In the top right corner, you'll see a button that says "Be Our Guest." If you want to come on and share your vision with us, please do. You never know where it could take you. It could take you to, could take both of us to another amazing relationship, just like it has with Sue and I. And we look forward to seeing all of you on the next episode of Vision Pros Live. Like, subscribe, do all the things related to that. Comment, share. Give us feedback too on what you'd like to see us dive into on this show and on our other shows. And if there's any way that we can help you, any question that you can ask, don't hesitate to engage. We do this for the random people who happen to see it and are like inspired by it. Like, man, I kind of want to do something like that. You're the people who inspire me the most, the ones I'm unaware of, who are quietly behind the scenes appreciating this type of a conversation. It's when you reach out where I'm like, yes, this is exactly why I do this. So I hope to see you on the next episode, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a vision pro yourself.